So, the long-awaited budget is now released, and surprise, it's a record for the wrong reasons. Yes, Rachel Reeves makes the biggest tax raid in political history with a £40 billion robbery. We will discuss this in today's video, whilst also going over all of the latest news from up and down the country. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and join our fast-growing community. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has unveiled £35 billion in tax rises as she delivered the first budget as a woman. In what has already been dubbed as the biggest heist in modern political history, the Labour politician will set out plans to increase money coming into the Treasury's coffers, slash public spending, and ramp up government borrowing. Reeves has painted her budget as a major opportunity to change the future of Britain. She said, "This is not the first time that it has fallen to the Labour Party to rebuild Britain. In 1945, it was the Labour Party that rebuilt our country out of the rubble of the Second World War. In 1964, it was the Labour Party that rebuilt Britain with the white heat of technology. And in 1997, it was the Labour Party that rebuilt our schools and hospitals. Today, it falls to this Labour Party, this Labour government, to rebuild Britain once again." But critics have already accused the government of breaking its general election promises and of crippling the country. Tory leadership contender Robert Jenrick said, "This budget completes the biggest heist in modern political history. The Labour Party won power by lying to the British public about their plan to hike taxes." Meanwhile, rival Kemi Badenoch said, "Reeves is about to go on a spending binge with the nation's credit card, throwing billions into an unreformed system which will take the money but not deliver the results." This is what British people had to say. Harry said, "This government is a disgrace." Brad said, "Not a surprise. It is what Labour does." This user said, "There you have it. They lied. They misled the people. They must resign." This user said, "This is very bad news for United Kingdom people." This user said, "Is it legal to mislead the people into voting for you, then do the complete opposite when you get in power? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments." In some other news, it has been fewer than 120 days since the 2024 general election, and Reform UK is already calling for a by-election. Runcorn and Helsby appears to have become the centre of the British political universe overnight, after local Labour MP Mike Amesbury was filmed sucker-punching a constituent after an argument about winter fuel payments led to a late-night bust-up. Amesbury, who initially claimed he felt threatened and was acting in self-defence, lost the Labour whip after Sir Keir Starmer saw the shocking footage. Immediately before Labour announced Amesbury's suspension, Reform UK demanded an urgent by-election contest in the marginally Brexit-backing constituency. "It's quite clear that the people of Runcorn and Helsby deserve far better than this," a Reform UK spokesman said. Runcorn and Helsby featured on Reform UK's 89-strong list of Labour seats, which saw the Populist Party's candidate finish runner-up on July 4th. However, Reform UK candidate Jason Moorcroft still trailed Amesbury by 14,696 votes. Runcorn and Helsby, which is mostly made up of wards from the old Weaver Vale and Halton seats, was not the most fruitful territory for UKIP in 2015. However, after making major gains compared to the Brexit Party's 4.8% support in 2019, Reform UK hoovered up 18.1% of ballots, leapfrogging the Liberal Democrats and Conservatives into a distant second place. Based on the 2024 general election result, nobody would logically expect Reform UK to seriously challenge Labour if a by-election is eventually called. Nevertheless, and despite winning a 170-seat victory, Starmer's personal support continues to tumble after punishing pensioners by axing winter fuel payments and letting inmates leave prisons early. Scandals around donor donations, high-profile No-10 infighting and continuous channel crossings certainly do not help the Prime Minister either. Starmer's pledge to bring change after years of incompetence and ineptitude is already starting to feel performative to millions of voters. The Prime Minister's personal approval dropped from into the red shortly after entering number 10, with Savanta now putting Starmer at minus 43%. And there certainly isn't as much of negative enthusiasm, which could propel Labour after voters booted the Tories out of power on July 4th. With a penny-pinching budget, will only adding further fuel to the fire. During the Conservative Party's dying days in Downing Street, by-elections highlighted just how unforgiving the electorate has become. By-election after by-election exhibited anti-Tory feelings in full. Liberal Democrat victories in North Shropshire, Tiverton and Honiton, Somerton and Frome, and Chesham and Amersham all witnessed swings of 25.1% to 34.2%. Labour often made similar inroads, with the most recent by-elections in Wellingborough and Blackpool South demonstrating just that. Excluding Rochdale, which included a pro-Palestine element that made the contest an outlier, Kingswood was the only Starmer target by-election that saw a swing from Tory to Labour below 20%. However, even in the often brief period between the respective by-election contest and 2024 general election, the remaining 5 unaltered English seats show a striking drop in Labour support. Blackpool South, which held its by-election just 9 weeks July 4th, twice elected Chris Webb. Webb's initial 20.6% bump was reduced by 10.8% just 9 weeks later, with Reform UK twice increasing its vote share by more than 10% to put the Populist Party in second-place. Tory support immediately collapsed by 32.1%, ultimately dropping by a further 1.9% on July 4th. Wellingborough MP Jen Kitchen won the Northamptonshire's by-election with a 19.4% surge as Tory support collapsed by 37.6%. However, Reform UK's 13% soon became 21.5%, with Tory support modestly boosting by 3.2% and Labour down 5.6%. Despite the Conservative Party suffering its worst defeat since 1906, these by-elections certainly highlighted a spike of anti-Tory sentiment immediately before the 2024 general election. West Lancashire, which is much more similar to Runcorn and Helsby, as a fellow safe seat, saw Labour support flatline at around 50% between 2019 and 2024. However, the North West's 2023 by-election handed Labour a 10.2% to take Ashley Dalton to 62.3%. Tory support tumbled twice over, with Reform UK going from just 4.4% to 17.9% in the space of 5 years. But what does all of this actually show? It shows that voters have become less deferential, less forgiving and less politically dependable. Reform UK, far more than the Tories, would expect a massive bounce in Runcorn and Helsby. The Populist Party has a mountain to climb to actually claim victory in Cheshire if a by-election is forced by the end of the year. However, a slump in Labour support, surge for Reform UK and tumbling turnout will point to a Prime Minister entering electorally uncharted waters. It would bring about a political nightmare for Starmer, just months after jittery Labour MPs were making his right-hand man, Morgan McSweeney, aware of their fears about a resurgent Reform UK. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British political content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.